Hello guys, so in this video we'll be creating Google Maps in 3D. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to create our folder. In our htdocs, I'm using XAMPP, so if you're using WAMP, you'll need to go to your www folder. You create your folder for this tutorial. So we create our folder, we call it tutorial, and we open it in Visual Studio Code. So we're going to build a map experience with markers from database using SQL and Axios, or you can also use Ajax together with JavaScript to make your API calls. This is very basic JavaScript and it's not something that's hard to grasp. So first we create our folder, we create our JavaScript folder, we create our map.js file. That is where our JavaScript is going to be. So all our JavaScript that is going to collect information from our database is going to be in this map.js. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to create another folder, which is going to be our backend folder. So this folder is going to contain the files that is going to communicate with our database, that is our SQL server. So our map.js is going to communicate with the backend files, and the backend files is going to communicate with the database. And now we have our index.html. So first we would want to create a simple user interface with Bootstrap. So what Bootstrap is going to do is we're just going to grab some headers from Bootstrap. First, we need a Bootstrap CDN, so we grab the link. We create our HTML basic template. We rename the header into Google Maps. And then we grab the CSS from the Bootstrap and we paste it right in. And then we grab the JavaScript CDN and then we paste it directly into the file. So this is our HTML. We got our Bootstrap up and running. The next thing we're going to do is try to find some headers. But before we do that, let's open our tutorial file and see what's happening. So we open our tutorial. That is our Google Maps. This is our file. There's nothing in there. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to grab some headers. We go to the documentaries or the documentation. So first, let's search for header. Okay. So we need to search for something like a nav bar. All right. Let's search for something like a nav bar. Okay. So this is what we want. We want a nav bar with a search input. With a search bar so we can use to search for locations and stuff. So I think we're going to grab one of these. So we copy the nav bar. We paste it right in. So let's check it out. Alright, so our navbar is working fine. The next thing we need to do is we need to configure some few stuffs. We need to give it a background. We need to give it a blue background, a blue color.
Shout out to Barney Pig from Final Boss for buying the bandages and raising the price on them.
All right. Let's see. Now I think we need to change we need to remove the BG body tertiary. So we need to remove that default bootstrap. Let's run that and see what's going to happen. Still. Okay, so let's check that out. Let's check the documentation to see what is going on. All right, so we need to use BG. Okay, BG, background, great. All right, the next thing we need to do is let's change the color of the text. It's black, it's not really visible, so let's say text white. All right, so let's do the same for our search button. Let's do the same for our search button. We say text white. Great. So the next thing we need to do is let's open up our Google Cloud Console. That's where we have our API keys. That's where we're going to create our map styles, create our map IDs, and all of that. So the next thing in our HTML, let's make the code a little bit clean. We have our header area, and we have our map area. So this is where we create our HTML for our map area, and that's where the map is going to be. So first we create a class, we call it map area, and then inside it we create a map div. So remember, all of this is going on in the index.html. So this is just as simple. This is no difficult task. We just created a map area with a map ID, with a map div. We have a navbar. We included Bootstrap, CDN for the links and for the scripts. The next thing we're going to do is let's handle the map in the map.js. So let's create, so we're going to handle the map. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to create the map and display it on the site. So the first thing, let's create a map variable. Let's say map, let map, and then map is equal to new google.maps.map. And inside it, we grab the element in our HTML file that is going to contain our maps. So we see document.get element by ID map. So that is where our map is going to be. So the Google Cloud API is going to create the map and is going to append the map inside this ID. So let's change that to ID. So div ID map. The next thing we need is the options. So the options is what is going to contain how our map is going to look like and how it's going to behave. So first we need a center. So we will just come up with a random center to use for now. So in the center, the first thing we need is a latitude. The next thing we need is a longitude. So So lat is LAT, longitude is LNG. Latitude and longitude. So we create two variables for our latitude and longitude. So we're going to replace the value with some actual coordinates that is going to be the center of our map. So let's change that to longitude. All right. So let's find some longitude and longitude. So let's go to Google Maps. And inside Google Maps, next thing we're going to do is wait till Google Maps finish loading. And then the next thing we're going to do is right click on any place you want, and it's going to give you the longitude and the latitude as the first option in the dialog. So we replace that in our variables. So replace the latitude and we copy the longitude. All right, great. So we have our map, we have our latitude, we have our longitude, and that is going to be the center of our maps. The next thing we need is the zoom level of our map. So how high or low should our map be? So first we're going to set it to 17. We need the type of map. Are we looking for a travel map or a road map, or what type of map? So we say map type ID is google.maps.maptypeid. So we need a road map. A road map gives us a very nice looking map that will fit this tutorial. So you can have satellite map, you can have a terrain map. So right now we're just going to use a road map. The next thing we're going to do is let's check if our API, everything is intact. Make sure you know how to create an API key and how to see or where to find your API key, because you're going to need it. Because we're going to create a Google Map CDN with our API key, and we're going to include it in our index.html file. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to open the Google Maps documentation. We're going to open the Google Maps documentation. So right now we want to find the CDN for Google Maps, the latest updated one. So we just go to Simple Maps. Okay, so we copied the CDN for Google Maps and we're going to put it in our index.html. Now my API key is already integrated into the website, so it's already integrated into the link. Now this API key is only linked to my device, so it's impossible to use this API key. You can create a free API key. All you need is your details, your Gmail account, and your credit card or your debit card. So your debit card is not going to be charged. You have $300 that you can use. You have 1 free month plus $300 credits. And you can use it to test your apps anytime you want. All you need to do is have a Gmail account, have a debit card to verify your identification. They're not going to charge any money, and then you're good to go. The next thing we're going to do is let's check out our maps. Let's see if our map is showing. So we load our map. Let's try to give our map some CSS to see what's happening. All right, so the map is not viewing. Something is wrong with the CSS or the JavaScript. So let's see what's going to happen. Let's go back to our code. Okay, so in our link, we have init map. So init map, that means we need to initialize the init map function in the Google Maps API. So every code should be inside the initialize function, which is init map. Let's run it. The next thing we need to do is we need to link our CSS to our code. So we need to create a simple CSS file. So we say map.css to give some height and width to the map. So we have our map area. Let's copy that. Let's paste that. We have our map area. The next thing we have is, let's give it some height. So the height, we need to do some calculations. So we say 100 view height minus. Now we check out the height of our nav bar. So we just hover it. We see it's 56. So minus 56 pixels. So the height of the map area is going to be very responsive on any device. So we do some small calculations and CSS is going to do it. The rest. So the next thing we need to do is grab the map and give it a height of 100% and the width of 100 view width or 100%. So we go back to our map area and we give it a width of 100 view width. So 100 VW. And that is good. The next thing we do, let's run our page. It's still not showing. Something is wrong. So what is wrong? Okay, so we have not connected our CSS to our file. We have not connected our JavaScript to our file. Okay, the next thing we need to do is to connect our map.js to this file. So now we have our map.js and let's see if it runs. Okay, it's still not showing up. What is wrong? Okay, so right now we have not linked our CSS file. Okay, we have not linked our CSS file that is going to show the height and width of the map. So let's link our CSS. Style.css. So let's go to the CSS folder and map.css. Great. Ooh, all right. So now we have our map. Nice and clear. So let's rename our navbar Google Maps tutorials. Great. Great. So our map is working fine now. The next thing we need to do is we need to make this map 3D. And we need to remove all those markers on the map because we are going to create a database that is going to store all of our markers. And we're going to get those data with JavaScript and put it on the map. Nice and easy. So let's go to our map management. So we're going to create a whole new style for our map. So first we go to map styles. You open your Google Cloud Console. You click on create style. You select the style of map that you want. So you can select the Atlas, the light gray, dark, night, classic maps. So we're going to use light maps for this tutorial. So when you click on Atlas, you see how it looks like. When you click on Light, you see how it looks like. So we're going to use Light for this. You can also choose travel maps. So this is how travel maps look like. So let's go for a light map. So you need to create a name for your style. So we're just going to say tutorial. We save it. The next thing we need to do is to customize this style. So we need to hide every icon or every marker on the map. So we need to hide everything. So we are able to see the maps from our database. So anyone that you click, you go to labels and you put it off. So first is all, you go to label, you put it off. Now you see we still have them, all right? We still have it. So the next thing we're going to do is go to each of the categories. So go to points of interest, go to labels and put it off. Now the labels are the markers on the map, all right? So you put it off. You go to landscape, you put it off. You go to transport, you go to labels, you put it off. Let's zoom in. You see all those businesses, all those markers. So go to business. You can go to business, points of interest. Go to labels. It's already off, so we need to go to each of them. So you go to medical, you put it off. You go to landscape, you go to text, you put it off. You go to administrative, you go to text, you put it off. We still have our markers. So the next thing we need to do is we need to find the businesses. But before that, let's create a map ID. So you go to map management, you click on create a new map ID. So we name it tutorial. Now this part is very important. You select map type, you select JavaScript, you select vector map, you select tilt and rotation. All right, so this is going to allow us to tilt and rotate our maps. So you have a map ID, you copy the map ID. And now you come back to map styles. We need to connect the map ID with this map. So you click on add map IDs. You select tutorial, what we just created, and you click save. The next thing we need to do is we need to add our map ID to our map so that the map is going to get connected to the new style that we just created. So we add the map ID. Great. The next thing, let's refresh our page. Let's see if it's taking effect. So what you can do is you can clear the cache at each run to see that you have the latest content. So what we're going to do is we're going to go back to our console and be seeing how we're going to update the style to have the map that we want. So you see we still have these markers. We don't need any of them. So what we're going to do, we have all these markers. What we're going to do is we're going to go to our style. We're going to go to map styles. We're going to customize the style. So we're going to click on that. Click on customize style. The next thing we're going to do, let's zoom in so we see everything Great. So these are all the markers. So we need to get rid of all of them. Great. So what we do is let's go to business. Let's go to labels and put it off. Okay, so now all the businesses are going off. Now we have some restaurants. So we go to attraction, we put it off. You see some of them just went off. Now we go to shopping, go to labels, we put it off. Go to food and drinks, we go to labels, we put it off. We go to station, petrol station, we put it off. We go to car hire, we put it off. We go to medical, food, park and garden, we put it off. We put off all schools. We put off every one of them. So we go to parks, we put parks off. And now our map is completely empty. So you click on continue, you click on save. Now when we run it, it's not going to work. We need to do one more thing. We need to publish the map. We need to publish the style so that it affects our map. So this is the cloud-based styling. So even if we refresh the page, although we have made all those changes, it's not going to get affected unless we publish the map. Okay, so let's go back and click publish. So once you click publish, that means your map is published. Now let's clear some cache. Let's refresh our page and it should work fine. Okay, so we still have it. The next thing we need to do is just refresh the page. Try to clear the cache. Because this Google Maps, it gets stored in your browser so that the next load will make it simple. So let's go back and let's try some location. So with this location, you see there are no markers. So completely empty. So we should have the same thing in our maps. Check our map ID. It's corresponding. Everything is intact. So let's just refresh our page. Let's just click on the URL and click on enter. Let's see what happens. Great. So our map is working fine. So we have all the markers taken off. The next thing we need to do is we need to make our map 3D. That's one of the main focus in this tutorial. We need to make our map 3D. So the next thing, we go to our map options. We set the heading. We set the heading to 0 degrees. That is, the map starts at the point that you are facing. Okay, so that's the heading. And then the next one is tilt. So the tilt is how the map gets tilted. We set it to 52 and we refresh our map. Let's see the wonderful thing that happens. Ooh, all right, look at our map. So right now we have a 3D map directly. Without the use of WebGL or anything, we have 3D maps directly. We have 3D maps directly. Great.